Imagine you're an ancient hunter, and the biggest meal of your entire life is lying right in front of you. After hours or even days of tracking, chasing, and working together, your tribe has finally brought down a giant woolly mammoth. The hunt is over, but the hardest work is just beginning. Nobody celebrates for long because everyone knows the meat won't stay fresh forever. Every minute counts, and every part of this enormous animal has value. A full-grown mammoth could weigh several tons, far more food than one family could ever eat alone. That's why the entire group immediately gets to work. The first challenge is the skin. Mammoth hide is incredibly thick and tough, almost like natural armor. Removing it isn't a one-person job. It takes teamwork, patience, and strength. Once it's off, the valuable meat underneath becomes much easier to reach. Instead of cutting tiny pieces, they separate the animal into large sections. The legs contain some of the richest muscles, packed with protein and fat. During the Ice Age, fat is almost as valuable as the meat itself. It provides precious calories that help people survive freezing temperatures. Nothing is wasted. Everyone has a job. Even children and older adults can help transport smaller pieces. And surprisingly, the bones are just as important as the meat. Strong bones can become tools, building materials, or even fuel in places with very few trees. For ancient humans, killing a mammoth wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of an enormous community effort. But this was only the first stage, because preserving such an incredible amount of food brought a whole new challenge. So how did ancient humans keep thousands of pounds of meat from going to waste? That's exactly what we'll discover next. A single mammoth could provide thousands of pounds of meat, far more than a small tribe could eat in just a few days. Without refrigerators or freezers, spoilage became the next enemy. Fortunately, Ice Age hunters had one huge advantage: the freezing climate itself. In many regions, nature worked like a giant outdoor freezer. Hunters often stored meat beneath thick layers of snow and ice to keep it cold. The rocks helped protect the food from curious scavengers. Because humans weren't the only ones interested in a fresh mammoth. Wolves could smell fresh meat from incredible distances. Hunters had to guard their valuable food day and night. And wolves weren't the only threat. Cave hyenas, bears, and even big cats were eager for an easy meal. Protecting the food became almost as dangerous as hunting the mammoth itself. Some meat was also dried whenever conditions allowed. The freezing air slowly removed moisture, helping preserve the meat longer. Smoke added another layer of protection against spoilage. These simple methods could stretch valuable food supplies for weeks. The giant animal fed entire families, not just for one meal, but for many days. Sharing food strengthened trust inside the group. A successful mammoth hunt wasn't just survival, it was a celebration. But once the meat was gone, the mammoth still had plenty left to offer.
Long after the last piece of meat was eaten, the mammoth was still incredibly valuable. The enormous ivory tusks were among the most prized parts of the entire animal. Ancient humans shaped ivory into strong spear points, needles, and decorative objects. Bone needles made it possible to sew warm clothing that could survive brutal Ice Age winters. Heavy bones became hammers, digging tools, and powerful weapons. Even simple bone tools made everyday jobs much faster and easier. In places where trees were scarce, mammoth bones became building materials. Some Ice Age people even built homes using giant mammoth bones. Thick hides covered the structure, creating a warm shelter against freezing winds. These homes helped entire families survive long, harsh winters. Even old bones had another surprising purpose. When firewood was difficult to find, dry mammoth bones can be burned as fuel. That precious heat meant cooked food, warmth, and protection through icy nights. One mammoth continued supporting the tribe long after the hunt had ended. Some ivory objects weren't just useful, they were beautiful. Simple decorations may have shown skill, experience, or social status. A mammoth wasn't simply food, it became part of nearly every aspect of daily life. But there was one final question. What happened when the tribe couldn't possibly carry everything with them? The biggest problem wasn't finding food anymore, it was carrying it. A single mammoth produced far more than one person could transport. Every successful hunt required careful planning before anyone started moving. The tribe divided everything into smaller, manageable loads. The hides worked like natural carrying bags. Leather cords kept the heavy bundles from falling apart during travel. The heaviest loads were carried by teams instead of individuals. Even short journeys became exhausting in Ice Age conditions. Sometimes they couldn't carry everything in one trip, so they planned to return later for whatever was left behind. Someone often stayed behind to guard the valuable resources. Predators were always searching for an easy opportunity. Protecting the leftovers could mean the difference between survival and hunger. Back at camp, everyone immediately started organizing the supplies. Every item had its own purpose and storage place. Every member of the tribe contributed in some way. A mammoth hunt kept the entire community busy for many days. Success depended on teamwork just as much as hunting skill. But even after all this work, the mammoth left behind something invisible, something that could attract unexpected visitors from miles away.
The smell of fresh blood and meat could travel astonishing distances across the cold air. Scavenging birds were often the first to discover a mammoth carcass. Where birds gathered, larger predators were never far behind. A hungry cave bear could easily overpower a single hunter. Instead of running, they relied on teamwork to protect one another. Fire, noise, and numbers often frightened dangerous animals away. Most predators preferred avoiding injuries whenever possible. Winning a hunt didn't mean the risks were over. Keeping the campsite organized helped reduce disease and unwanted pests. Anything that couldn't be used was removed or buried whenever possible. Even simple cleaning habits could make a difference. After such a massive hunt, many tools needed repair. Preparing for the next hunt started almost immediately. No one knew when another opportunity would appear. Mammoths constantly moved in search of food, and hunters had to keep up. Reading footprints became one of their most valuable survival skills. Knowledge was passed from one generation to the next. Every lesson prepared the next generation for survival. Life moved forward, but every successful mammoth hunt made the community stronger. And the incredible relationship between humans and mammoths would shape history in ways few people imagine. A mammoth hunt wasn't just about survival, it was also a classroom for the next generation. Every successful hunter passed valuable skills to younger members of the tribe. Children learned how to recognize footprints long before joining real hunts. They also learned to notice tiny clues that revealed where a herd had traveled. Understanding the wind helped hunters approach without being detected. Even simple tricks could increase the chances of a successful hunt. Patience was often more important than speed. One careless movement could scare away the entire herd. Every hunt made the entire community wiser. Some researchers believe important events may have been remembered through carvings and storytelling. Stories helped preserve knowledge long before writing existed. These stories also reminded people of bravery, teamwork, and survival. A successful mammoth hunt strengthened friendships as much as it filled empty stomachs. Sharing food helped everyone survive, including those who couldn't hunt. For a short time, the tribe could finally rest. But deep down, everyone knew this food wouldn't last forever. Soon they would have to continue following the mammoth herds once again. Life was a constant journey filled with uncertainty. Their survival depended on courage, cooperation, and experience. And perhaps the biggest mystery of all is whether ancient humans helped drive mammoths toward extinction. For thousands of years, humans and mammoths shared the same frozen world. People didn't hunt every mammoth they saw. A healthy mammoth was incredibly dangerous and could easily kill a hunter. Hunters often searched for the safest opportunity instead of the biggest challenge. Planning was always more important than rushing into danger. Every member needed to understand their role before the hunt began. Perfect teamwork gave ancient humans an incredible advantage. Communication didn't require words. Simple gestures were often enough. Hunters patiently waited for the perfect moment. Sometimes they waited for hours without making a single move. Nature could either help the hunt or completely ruin it. Ice, wind, and deep snow were challenges for both humans and mammoths. Sometimes the environment became their greatest ally. Not every hunt ended with a kill, and that was perfectly normal. Choosing not to hunt could save lives.
patience often meant another opportunity would come later. Survival wasn't about being fearless, it was about making smart decisions. Generation after generation, these lessons shaped human survival. The memory of these giant animals lived on through stories and art. But eventually, the mammoths disappeared, leaving behind one of history's greatest mysteries. Around 4,000 years ago, the very last known woolly mammoths disappeared from Earth. Scientists are still debating exactly why they vanished. As the Ice Age ended, the climate changed dramatically, transforming the mammoth's habitat. The vast grasslands that mammoths depended on gradually became smaller. At the same time, human hunting may have added extra pressure to already struggling populations. Most researchers believe it was probably a combination of climate change and human activity, not just one cause alone. Today, these ancient remains continue to teach us about life during the Ice Age. Every new discovery helps scientists understand our ancestors a little better. The story of a mammoth didn't end when it fell. It continued through the people whose lives it sustained. What really happened after ancient humans killed a mammoth? It became food, shelter, tools, warmth, knowledge, and ultimately a remarkable chapter in the story of human survival. Thanks for watching.